One of the nice things about backpacking is that we can lower the price quite a bit, and you can decide how much you want to spend on equipment, because there are really cheap ways to do it and there are really expensive ways to do it. And so it gives you some flexibility as a parent. There are lots and lots and lots of people in our church, in Bend, probably in your family, that have equipment sitting in their garage that they would be happy to loan you. So you can do it just about for free if you want to do it that way. So what I want to do is I'm going to just talk you through the schedule real quick and kind of what we're going to be doing, and then I'm going to pass out a backpacking checklist and just walk you through it, because there's some things you can ignore, there's some things that are really important to hammer down on, and then we will have a video of it for all the other parents sending kids to the backpacking trip. So we're meeting here on a Wednesday morning. We're leaving from the church on Wednesday morning in our 3 vans with drivers over 21. And we're head up to Portland, Vancouver area. We will stop for lunch on the way up there. And the first day, we're going to jump right into a service project that afternoon. Once we get in Vancouver, we're going to go down to a waterfront park and pass out water and lunches to homeless people, possibly offer prayer to people, just strangers. See if they want to pray with us. We're going to have some partners up there. Maybe my dad might help us. He does a lot of homeless ministry up in Vancouver, and so they're going to do some training and help us out. And we're going to give the students an opportunity to get out of their comfort zone and get their hands dirty a little bit. They will be in groups with adults, and so we'll have adults in each group keeping an eye on them. But we're going to start off kind of with a bang, with just an element of serving people and seeing what God does through that. That night, it's going to be a big day. Every day is going to be a big day. But when we're done feeding the homeless, we're going to go get dinner, probably a fast food place, and then we're going to go up to a city called Randall, which I think the city consists of like a stop sign, something like that, and a stop sign and a little Nazarene church. And we're going to be staying at that little Nazarene church. It's about an hour and a half north of Vancouver. So we're going to be on the road 5.5 hours the first day, 5 to 5.5 hours. We're going to stay at that little church. We are going to start our devotional time. And here's the thing that we're doing a little differently. Most times for summer camp, there's like speaking, worship, sessions. Sometimes there's like a devotional element. But because of the nature of backpacking and road trips, we're going to do a lot of like, you're apart from your phone, you're apart from technology. It's like time with you and God, and we're going to lean into that with our devotional time. So they're going to spend a lot more time with them and God. And it's going to be rough for some of them, honestly. Like, they're going to be twitchy. Have you ever seen a teenager go through technology withdrawals? It's almost as bad as caffeine withdrawals. I've had that too on a retreat. But so they're going to get like these leather journals, and they're going to have instructions, and we're going to do kind of teaching time to kick it off. So we'll do that night. The next morning, we are 20 minutes from the trailhead in Randall. So we're going to get up, we're going to head over to the trailhead. Gary Strickland is going to meet us at the trailhead with an ATV so that he can be insisted upon it. So it's okay. So we'll have pop-up outhouses, we'll have big first aid kit and just some other safety stuff. I'll have a satellite phone with me in case of emergencies. We will go to the trailhead at Packwood. It's a 4-mile trail. There's 2 separate trails. One's an ATV trail that's gravel. The other one is more of like a dirt backpacking trail. So we'll be on the backpacking trail. You have to have groups of no more than 10. So we'll split up into groups and have adults with each party. On Packwood Lake is an old Boy Scout camp that is no longer used, and so that's one of the reasons I love it, is because it's actually this big, nice camping area where large groups of people can come, even though there's no roads to get there. And the lake is just stunning. I mean, there's no motors allowed on it, so it's crystal clear. There's fish, there's the mountain behind it. It's just incredible. And so we will hike 4 miles in, we'll set up camp, and everything in backpacking just goes slowly. I mean, setup goes slowly, meals take a long time. It's just total opposite of how life is these days. And that's partly what makes it so wonderful, is like detach, disconnect from everything but each other, and just see how God speaks through that, around the fire, if we're allowed to build fires, depending on how the weather is, with our devotional time, and just with hanging out. Let me see what else. I have taken a number of groups to this place. I'm very familiar with it. I've been camping there since I was 10 years old. And I'm familiar with the safety regulations and the rules and the precautions. And I've had a few things happen over the years that I've learned from that experience also. So not lately, but it's not new to me at all. And I'm really excited. It's going to be an awesome time together, just up in the wilderness, learning to live off of what's on your back. One thing I'm doing different for this trip is sometimes I'll have the parents take care of food, and we're not doing that this time. We're taking care of food, which means a couple things. One of them is, one thing in particular, if your kid has special dietary needs, please let me know in advance, because we're going to need to plan for that. And if you want to pack for their dietary needs, if you have experience backpacking, that's great. Like, you know what to do. If you don't, please talk to me. Your kid will not be happy if you don't pack appropriate backpacking food, which is light, very light. When we did our leadership retreat backpacking, one of the kids brought a loaf of bread to live on for the weekend. It's like, I had another guy one time bring 10 Big Macs from McDonald's. That was his.
My brother took a 2-liter of soda.
Oh.
With him.
I've seen a guy take 2 gallons of milk and strap him to his backpack. He's a strong guy, but holy cow. So please let me know if there's special dietary needs. But that will all be covered in the cost. So we're going backpacking for 2 nights, which is like the perfect amount of time to be kind of a struggle, but not to where it's like overkill. Please take me home. We will Saturday night, we will drive back to Vancouver and stay at Liberty Nazarene. They have showers there, and they will want those showers very much. So they're going to be interested in the showers. The next morning, so we'll stay the night there. We'll probably have pizza or something like that. Has anybody ever watched Survivor? No? So there's something with Survivor where, like, if they bring, regular food, like a slice of pizza, the survivors are like, it's like, ah. So I expect that they'll be kind of like that, getting some pizza. We'll hang out in their youth room that night, split up the guys and girls to different sections of the room. Oh, and when we're on the mountain, the guys and girls will be in different campgrounds. Maybe even 3 or 4, depending on what size group we have. But part of that's regulations, part of it is, just keeping the guys and girls apart. And all the campgrounds will have adults staying with them. So, any questions at this point before we jump into the checklist?
So you guys are providing the tents too, right?
No.
No, you're not providing tents. Okay.
Nope. But I will talk about that because the next day we will attend Liberty Naz's morning service, and then we're going to go to Clackamas Town Center, which is a big, beautiful mall. And somebody informed me that malls are kind of a novelty for Bend teenagers because they don't get to go to malls. So I'm like, hey, that's a free event. So we're going to hang out at the mall, split up into groups. We will provide food. We will not buy them shoes or clothes or anything else that DVDs or whatever they want to buy at a mall. So if they want to shop at the mall, they got to bring money on their own. Speaking of which, all the restaurants we stop at will pay for. We will have snacks for youth, but we will stop at gas stations and things like that. If they want to get specific drinks or specific candy bars or whatever, they'll need to pay for it. Anything they want to get at the mall other than the meal that we provide, they'll need to pay for. Those are the big things. We're not, other than that, they don't really need money for much. After the mall, we will come home and we will meet up with you guys Sunday evening. And in a trip like this, there's just no way to nail down a time for that. So we'll try not to make it too late, but usually what we'll do is have them call you a half hour out or an hour out so you have some warning to come pick them up. So, any questions about the schedule? No? Sweet. All right. Can you pass these out, please? Well, actually, there's 3 people, so, or 4. When you sign up your student, you got a link to this list in the response email. So you already have a copy of this. It's also just REI's standard backpacking checklist. So on the top left, write an S, and next, just like this up here, and write share. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. The rule of thumb with backpacking is light. Make things light. My dad's backpacking joke that he says every single time we've gone backpacking for 40 years is that you break your toothbrush in half and only take half of it so that you can keep things light. So the more you can do that, the better. The S stands for share, things that you can share with other students. So what you want to do is have your students talk to a few of their buddies that are on the trip. If they don't have any buddies on the trip, you can talk to me and say, hey, could we get some help pairing our student up with someone else? Or find some buddies that can sign up on the trip with them. That would be great. We got spots left. But the S things are things that are like every 2 or 3 students. So what you do is you get a group of 2 or 3 students together, and one of them takes a tent, one of them has a stove, because those are both share things. They all sleep in the tent together, they all share the stove. Everybody doesn't need their own stove. Does that make sense? So I'll let you know as we go through the sections what things are shared. So as I said, starting with backpacking gear, you can put an S by backpacking tent. That is definitely a share. And again, tons of people have tents. If you can find a tent that has aluminum poles, they're about half as heavy as the other tents. Now, people have been backpacking with the other tents for years, so it's not like a horrible thing, but aluminum poles are nice. It should be, I would say, under 7 pounds max. 5 pounds is preferable, somewhere in there. So as far as the backpack goes, when you sign up your student for camp, There's a link to a place where you can rent a backpack. It's $40. They'll send it to you before camp. You can send it off with your student and then return it through the mail if you want to do something like that. You can get decent backpacks for $60 or $70 on Amazon. You can check OfferUp, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace for a used backpack, or just start asking family and friends, and I can almost guarantee there's someone who has a backpack. It is preferable that it kind of matches your student's size. It's not, I mean, it's, you know, if you have a student that's bigger, stronger, and they have a teeny tiny little backpack, they're gonna try to carry a lot of stuff in that. If you have a little teeny student that has a big giant backpack, that could be cumbersome. So within reason, it doesn't have to be perfect, and a lot of them are adjustable, but within reason. Does everybody understand the difference between a normal backpack and a backpacking backpack? Sort of? Okay. A backpacking backpack has a frame, always has a frame. Most of the new ones, the frame is internal. And what the frame does is that you have a waist belt, and the frame connects to the waist belt, and it puts all the weight on your hips. And it's wonderful. You barely feel it. You feel tired as you walk, but you don't feel the strain on your shoulders. Normal backpacks, all the weight is on your shoulders, and it is a nightmare if you go backpacking. Your shoulders will hurt so bad. So plus, backpacking backpacks have places for lots of different things. They have straps for sleeping bags. They have bigger pockets for tents and things on top. If you find a backpack that you like and you just want a little feedback about whether it's good or not, text me, email me, call me, and I can let you know. So everybody needs a backpack. That is a must, because they're all gonna have to carry stuff up. Pretty much all of the sleeping bag, sleeping pad, headlamp or flashlight, you know, they can do one or the other. It's good if everybody has some sort of flashlight, even if it's a little one with extra batteries. Sleeping pad is technically optional. I mean, the youth tend to be better at sleeping on hard ground than us adults. For me, there'd be no way. Like, that would be 4 to 8 hours without sleep, bar none. But Amazon has little thin blow-up sleeping pads for like $20, all the way up to expensive ones. You can send, if you have like a piece of foam or a yoga mat or something like that, even that will help. TJ Maxx and Ross usually have like thick yoga mats. Those would be decent sleeping pads, and they're pretty light. The optional stuff is optional. So, although pillow, that would be nice. You can, one thing I've done is just bring a little pillowcase and stuff shirts in it. And so it's kind of double duty with shirts and pillow. I am providing bear spray to all the leaders, so you don't need to worry about that. I have never once seen a bear or cougar up there, so I'm not worried about it. It's just being cautious. With cougars, 90 to 95% of attacks are when 1 or 2 people are alone in the woods. In fact, I think it's like 80% is when 1 person's alone in the woods. There's never been an attack in recorded history of like 5 or more people getting run up by a cougar. So tell your kids not to wander off into the woods alone, and they'll be fine. Like I said, I've never seen either of those 2 things up there, but if we do, we're ready for it. So don't bring bear spray, please. Navigation, you don't have to worry about. It's a pretty simple, straight in, straight out. Clothing, just bring light stuff. You might check the weather report. You don't have to have like a full fleece jacket, rain gear, it might be helpful to take a raincoat, like just one thin thing that can keep the water, or even REI or Sportsman's will have those little poncho things, you know, they're a little thing for like $2, and you can just throw it over you. If it rains, it fits over your backpack too. So you never know, a storm might come through. Shoes for terrain is important. And anything that they feel comfortable in hiking. I mean, any hiking trail around here is a good example of what we're not doing anything crazy. It's not climbing Mount Everest or anything like that. It's just walking in the dirt, but there's rocks and roots and things like that. So don't buy them shoes and have them be the first trip they use to break them in. That's not a good idea. Get shoes at least a month in advance, have them wear them to hang out, have them go on a couple hikes, have them, you know, wear them around the house or in the backyard, just break them in a little bit and get a feel for them before you take them on a trail. It's a good way to get blisters. So I talked about the rain thing, just a jacket is fine, a thin jacket or a poncho. All that optional stuff is very optional. Camp kitchen, the stove, the fuel, the cook set, and the dishes and bowls are all shared things. So you get what's called a mess kit. And again, anybody who has a backpack has these things. They usually have a stove and a mess kit and a couple other things, unless they never actually go backpacking, which is unlikely. But so a mess kit's usually about this big. It's got like a pot, a pan, it opens up. There's usually a couple cups inside, a couple plates. They're like aluminum or stainless steel. They're super light, and that's what you do all your cooking on. The fuel for the stove is like this. Sometimes you have this little stove that you attach on it. A lot of the meals we're gonna do is just boiled water because they're freeze-dried, super light backpacking meals. So you boil water, stick it in the bag, close it, wait 10 minutes, bon appetit. And you can do that with a stove for 3 kids, you know, where they boil water, get it going, boil water, get it going, boil water, get it going. So you can combine it. Now, if you have 3 people on one stove, you might want to get a little bigger canister of fuel, or maybe even a couple canisters of fuel. And you'll see they're about this big around, and they come in like this size, or that size. So any store that sells those, there's an employee close by who can talk you through how much you need for a 3-day trip. Eating utensils, mug, you know, something light is great. I wouldn't do like a porcelain mug. It'd probably get shattered and cut the backpack and be heavy the whole way. Here's something fun about biodegradable soap. It's pretty much all biodegradable. So that's just kind of a ploy they use to charge more for the same stuff. Dawn soap is really helpful because it cuts grease in cold water. It's one of the only soaps that cut grease in cold water. So a little Dawn soap. One of the most brilliant things for backpacking is like baby wipes, or they have these at Walmart where they're like, they're kind of like hand wipes, but they look more like baby wipes. And just at night, you feel gross and grimy and dirty, and you can just take the baby wipes and kind of wipe off your body, and it feels great. It feels like you just took a shower. And so it's not critical, but it's kind of a little insider's trick that is nice to have. We have these coolers that we're going to be bringing on the ATV, and they're bear proof, so we will have ways to bear proof the food. You don't need to worry about that, except for maybe a rope. You can get ropes at Walmart that are just thin twine, and they're about this big for 50 feet or something like that. We'll use that to strap it to their backpack and pull it up in a tree and keep the food above the raccoons. So, but like I said, we'll have the coolers, we'll have some other things. That guy that brought Big Macs backpacking insisted on having them by his head all night long. So let me get this straight. You want Big Macs by your head out in the woods at night. Yeah, that was... The bears are like, yes, please. Food and water. So I'll provide the food, but they do need a source of water. It's very important. So the cheapest way to do that is to get the pills and maybe some sort of little bucket or pail or collapsible thing. The water tastes gross, but it's clean and it's cheap. And the way you do it is you there's creeks and there's the lake and everything. You take a bucket of water, you stick the chlorine pill in it, let it go for 20 minutes, and then you're all set. But it tastes gross. My favorite option is called a Life Straw. They're about 20 bucks. They are at Costco right now, but they're like packs of 3. You can get them at Sportsman's, you can get them at REI, you can get them at Walmart, you can get them on Amazon. And it's a straw, it's about this big, and you just suck through it. The water goes right through, filters, tastes great, nice and cold. You can bring, for a lot of Life Straws, you can bring a 2-liter pop bottle and you can fill that up with water, screw it onto the Life Straw, and then squeeze it out into like a pan or something like that. It's a really great way to filter water quickly.